Alright guys, we're starting a live video here just because I caught Joseph making the donuts. That's what we call it. We call it making the donuts. And just wanted you to see kind of maybe what he does and how he bundles smudge. So, you're doing what, creosote?
Creosote, yeah.
Okay.
The hardest one to do.
There it is.
I think it's harder than white sage. Myself, but
the white sage gets kind of sticky on your fingers, I know that. Well,
this is worse.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is worse. So, when we bundle, first we got to start with the plant itself, and I go out and I harvest typically in the morning. I'll go out, there's plenty of places out on the reservation, and the creosote really only grows near the mountains. It doesn't grow out away from the mountains itself. It's just part of what it is. But it grows out there. It's all over the place. There's a long history of the creosote plant in our culture and scientifically. It's been proven that it's the oldest plant tree in the world that's existed for the longest. And part of the Pima culture, it is the first plant that was ever made by the creator of the earth in my culture. So it's interesting that in our cultural sense and the stories, it's the first plant, that first thing that was ever created. And in the scientific realm, it's the oldest plant that exists on the earth.
What I think is interesting that we haven't even talked about is the creosote tea.
Yeah.
And making the tea, and how the tea is actually in different, I guess, parts of the world. Creosote is known as like greasewood or chaparral.
Yep.
And here it's known as creosote, but it's very healing and can actually cure pretty much anything, I think is what has been almost scientifically proven. It's even been proven to cure cancer if you drink it as a tea. So it's ingestible as well as being able to smudge.
It's not a panacea, something that just cures everything. It has to do with your body and how yourself, being...
Joe Calabrese is watching. Say hi to Joe.
Hey, Joe. Being in one with yourself and being healthy. You just can't eat triple cheeseburgers for breakfast, lunch, and dinner and drink creosote tea and think it's going to help you. Because it ain't going to.
Well, it doesn't help you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to be one. But anyway, so it's a creosote bush. I go out and I have areas that I find it and I get it. And I just don't go cut it because, interesting enough, the plant, I say a little prayer to it. I say an open prayer to it. Like a normal person, verbally, I thank the plant for growing and for allowing me to harvest it, to use it as smudge to help bless and cleanse us. And then I myself try and go at a conscious level to the plant and tell it that I'm sorry that I have to cut it, and that I'm gonna use it in doing its purpose on the earth, which is to heal and to cleanse. And it's interesting that's what we're taught, and that's what you're supposed to do. And once again, the science behind it, and this is actually the science has been proven by Russian scientists, that plants will respond to people who try and cut them or burn them, and they have an actual response. So at a subconscious level, that's kind of what I do. And you offer the plant tobacco sometimes, but you thank it for doing that. So I'll go out and harvest, and I cut. This is a good example of what I cut. And I'll cut this from the plant. And I don't cut a plant bare. I cut pieces from it and leave it so that it can still grow. And so I'll get a whole bucket full. Creosote itself has, the green leaves have a real creosote grease on it. That's why I put the tape on my fingers. And so essentially I get it and I just bundle it together. And you gotta put them together. There's really there's no magic to it.
But it's not easy, I don't think. I watch him do it. I don't think it's easy.
It's, I guess some people say it's hard to see how this, turns into this.
But And so you guys know too, I'm actually not even allowed to touch it.
No one touches the creosote. I'm the only one that touches it.
Yeah, I can't touch it unless I'm gonna burn it and it's gonna be mine.
I only do it when I'm in the right mood, because it's a plant that is going to help somebody become positive and remove positive energy. And we're all energy. We all vibrate at a certain level. So to take the plant and be angry, I'm only transferring that, to the plant, to the smudge, and it's just a simple slip knot that I take on the end.
And can you explain the red string?
Red string is a preference for myself. Lots of people don't use red string, but as Pimas,
and it's what kind of
it's
Pima
cotton,
right?
It's cotton, so it's 100% natural. It's not nylon. But in my culture, red represents life. For example, when someone dies, in a broad sense, a Caucasian culture, when someone dies and they bury them, it's black. You wear black. It's black in the coffin or anything. In my culture, when there's death or anything, it's red, because red represents life, and red is represents positive and good. So I'll put a slip knot around the end. I just kind of I do 11. Try and do 11 turns. The numerology. It's also good at craps.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Most of the time.
I
like playing 11.
Some people, when they do their sage, they'll take off the string. You can see the string on there that keeps it together. They'll take it off when it's dried.
And these are all wet.
Yeah.
So,
but you don't have to.
And
you don't have to take
grab
it off.
a dry one. Let them see a dry one.
So here's a dry one.
Here's a dry one. So you can see the difference. Like there's dry.
And some people will take this thread off when they light it and smudge it. But you don't have to. That's why it's cotton.
This one has to be mine.
So you need one.
This is mine anyway. No. Okay.
And so, this is, I guess you could say this, I don't know if it's where the magic happens, but this is the difficult part, is you gotta hold the smudge, and I wind it around, and it's me and the plant working together, just tighten it in. You can see, I bundle it very tight by hand, with my squeezing it and then using the thread to keep it together. So when it dries, it even condenses further, and so that's why our smudge is really dense.
That's why you need a torch lighter.
I typically recommend a torch lighter. And the length, you can go as far as you want. We'd like to go 8 inches, of course. For a man, this is 8 inches, but for a woman, it's normal 8 inches. Yeah. But
I think I snorted.
There's no secret to the length. Everybody's different. I do my smudge a little bit longer than most people, only because I think you need that.
It lasts a long time, though.
I reverse the turns on it, bring it down, and I'll trim the thread here.
You guys can see that.
A little kiss on the thread. My big needle. I used to do a surgeon's knot that I learned in the military when I was a corpsman in the Navy. But I realized that people were taking the thread off sometimes. The surgeon knot is really hard to undo. I quit doing that, so I just do a simple knot because it holds. And so you have the basis of your smudge. I trim the top off here. Give him a little haircut.
Cutting the hair. Yeah, haircut.
Give him a little haircut here.
But then we use that for the tea. It goes down there, some of it.
I cut the bottom. A lot of people don't cut the bottom. I do because I think it makes it easier to hold. I give it another little haircut. Just take off some of the big stuff sticking out. And that's about it. And that's our smudge. Another one done.
That's how a smudge is made.
So understand that, I'm the only one that touches it. I wrap it in paper
This one's mine.
so that no one else touches it. The energy is what it is. That's why I think I get compliments on our smudge that it works very well, and I think that's because it's the pure plant. It's the pureness of what it's supposed to do. There's no machine. There's no pre-packaging. I use regular paper. I use the same thread to tie it together. And that's really what it is. So
But you likely are the only human that the plant has ever
most likely, I am probably
in the desert. Yeah.
Unless some Indian, hundreds and thousands of years ago did it before me, because these plants last forever. I mean, these plants are literally 1,000 years old, easy.
Yeah.
Easy 1,000 years old. They've been in the desert, and I'm probably the only human that has cut them in easily the last 5 to 1,500 years.
Yeah.
So they've been waiting a long time to do what they do.
And they serve a good purpose. I
And
mean,
they serve a good purpose.
Feels good. I think it's very cleansing, and it does smell like the desert after a monsoon.
Yeah.
When you burn it, and that's interesting. But
And I don't know anybody else that does creosote.
I don't think anybody does. But isn't that the traditional?
You don't know the traditional for Pima.
It's definitely not lavender. I know that.
It's not lavender. It's typically not
sage,
creosote.
but it's
There's a white
California.
sage that grows wild here that we do. There's a triangle leaf burr sage that we also do. But they, when the water ran here and we had a big river, there was a whole lot of different plants. And there was almost like it's called an arrowweed. It's kind of a
The
weed.
arrowweed, yeah.
And that's a real traditional one. And I do that, but I don't give that to anyone.
Yeah,
that's for people, for natives here who come and get it. But this is something that is very strong. I feel it's necessary. Sometimes I catch hell from people. Sometimes other natives who are like, you can't give that away. You can't sell that to anybody. Because
not to the white people, anyways.
It's our sacred medicine. It's only for us. And I've been around the world. I've seen a lot of things. I've stood in the light of God, the darkness of the devil. And if I can do something and make something that I can give to anyone that's going to make their life more positive and make something better in this world, I'm going to do it. So that's kind of where I come from with it. But that's Smudge.
Well, thank you for sharing that.
Oh, you're welcome.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, guys, we're gonna go now.
I'm going to finish.
We're gonna stop bothering Joseph when he's making the donuts.